What's going on, everybody, and welcome to episode 14 of the We Fought Back series, where today I will be talking about the Aponte conspiracy of 1812. Jose Antonio Aponte, often known as Black Jose Aponte, was a Cuban political activist and military officer of Yoruba origin who organized one of the most prominent slave rebellions in Cuba, the Aponte conspiracy of 1812. He held the rank of corporal in Havana's black militia and was the leader of his local Yoruba association. Aponte, a free black carpenter in Havana, was proclaimed to be the leader of a plot to rebel against the Cuban government, free the slaves and uplift free blacks and overthrow slavery in Cuba. The movement struck several sugar plantations on the outskirts of Havana, but it was soon crushed by the government. Aponte created a book of drawings that is claimed to have been the blueprints for the rebellion of 1812, for which he was convicted along with 8 of his cohorts. He was eventually caught and hanged on April 9, 1812. He was then decapitated and his head was placed on an iron cage and showcased in front of the house where he lived, with his hand going on display in another street. Although historians are not certain of his exact birth date, it is estimated that Aponte was born around 1760 in Havana, Cuba. There are gaps in knowledge regarding his family and upbringing. The name of his mother is unknown, and details about his childhood and adolescence are not recorded in many dominant narratives about him. However, Aponte included several family members in his book of drawings, 2 of the most important being his father and grandfather. His grandfather, Joaquin Aponte, worked his way up the military hierarchy, eventually becoming captain of the Grenadiers and serving for 43 years in the Free Black Militia in Havana. Despite Aponte glorifying images of his father, Nicholas Aponte, as a military figure, there are no military records corroborating this. As a descendant of this legacy, he too joined the Free Black Militia of Havana. In the militia, Aponte participated in capturing the Bahamas from the British and became a first corporal in the militia battalion of mixed mulattoes and blacks. Aponte also taught himself about politics and history, as well as world cultures. He was well versed in African and Creole languages and history. He had a small library of 12 books, some of which included Aesop's Fables, A Guide to Rome, and a history of Ethiopia. Furthermore, he was a liaison between Havana's different political and social groups, such as the African Calbidos and white Freemasonry. There is debate about the validity of his Yoruba origin, Shango priesthood, Agboni society membership, and Lukemai Cabildo membership. However, there is consensus that Aponte was a wood sculptor, painter, and master carpenter. In Cuba, the late 18th century, there were numerous rebellions led by people of color and slaves. In 1812, Aponte continued this legacy as he organized one of the most prominent revolts in Cuba, known as Aponte's Rebellion of 1812. In the 19th century, as Cuba became more of a plantation society due to the sugar boom, a massive importation of slaves by the government transformed Cuban society by dividing social class more by racial lines. This may have reduced the rights of people of African descent, but it set the stage for more unity among both free and enslaved people of African descent for rebellion. Thus, Aponte was motivated to lead a mass insurrection to abolish slavery, overthrow the colonial tyranny, and create an independent society free of discrimination. Aponte assembled a group of slaves and people of color to plan and burn sugar mills, attack the armories in Havana, and arm 400 men he amassed in order to revolt and overthrow the slavery system. However, the government violently crushed the revolt and hanged Aponte and some of his comrades on April 9, 1812. As a warning against future slave insurrections, Aponte's severed head was displayed in an iron cage at the entrance of Havana. The Cuban government thought the legal status of free people of color, being distinctly different from slaves, would be enough to stop solidarity. They were shocked when free people of color participated in Aponte's rebellion because they thought free slaves would be loyal to the government. Aponte's rebellion was a movement that encompassed rebels burning plantations and killing whites in Havana and Puerto Principe, although the conspirators were captured by authorities before they could fulfill their plans in Bayamo and Hoguin. There is pushback against the narrative of Aponte being the sole leader of the rebellion of 1812. Some historians claim that the movement was decentralized with multiple leaders with congregant leadership, since there were various ethnic groups enslaved on the island. When authorities searched Aponte's place of residence, they found a book of paintings and plan made by Aponte. According to Spanish officials, the book of drawings contained maps of streets and military garrisons in Cuba, pictures of black soldiers beating whites, sketches of his father and grandfather, a drawing of George Washington, portraits of black kings, and episodes in Aponte's own life. After interrogating Aponte, colonial officials asserted that he used the book of drawings as a blueprint for the revolution to illustrate and explain his plans for the rebellion. Considering he allegedly showed the book to members of the Free Black Militia and numerous others during meetings at his house, it is proposed that he used images of black revolutionaries like Toussaint Louverture, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, and Henry Christophe, and drew inspiration from the Haitian Revolution to inspire his followers. Because of Aponte's book of paintings, the officials declared Antonio Aponte the leader of the island-wide rebellion. Unfortunately, the book of paintings was lost, and the only knowledge we have about it is through description Aponte gave to authorities while being interrogated. Many scholars and historians have debated the role of Aponte's book of paintings. Some consider his work a political and pedagogical tool, and highlight its recovery of the knowledge of the Western Ethiopians to celebrate Africa's future in universal history. Others think that Aponte wanted the book to be read as a meditation on black sovereignty, an intellectual and subversive representation of imagining a black kingdom, one in which he was trying to create in Cuba. In addition, it can be seen as a remnant of intellectual history of the Black Atlantic, as a source for exploring the worldview of a black artist and revolutionary. And that is going to conclude episode 14 of the We Fought Back series of the Aponte Conspiracy of 1812. If you have not done so already, please be sure to check out the We Fought Back series, where you can catch up or recap the previous episodes. And be sure to tune in next week, same time, same place, where we will be doing episode 15 of the We Fought Back series. Be safe and be one.